Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we are here with the Falken Tyre Challenge. Yes, 30 minutes multi-class racing between the LMP3 car and the GT4s, and I thought we needed a good excuse to try out the new BMW G82 GT4 M4. Yes, I still think that name is a little bit peculiar. We've put the car on pole for this one today though. Let's see if we can try and hang on for my first iRacing win in I don't know how long. Well, I don't know when the last time I took pole was inside iRacing, but maybe, just maybe, we can convert this one into a victory. 30 minutes ahead of us here from the Falken Tyre Challenge, and yeah, in the new BMW as well. Hopefully we can try and have a good race. I'm going to wait for that green flag before we try and go give the LMP3s a little bit of a buffer there, but I think we'll go for it down in towards the final corner. Try and give ourselves the best run we possibly can, and let's wait and see what those LMP3s do on lap 1. They are admittedly quite low on the old iRating front, so I don't know whether they're going to cause us any problems as well as the race goes on, as immediately we've got some yellow flags out, but I think that is for cars behind us rather than in front. Of course, anything kind of over 20 minutes, I'll probably edit down these highlights as well, so don't be alarmed that the video, maybe do be alarmed. Now there you go. Immediately a couple of LMP3s running into problems, but yeah, don't be alarmed. Obviously, if the video length is not quite as long as the race length, because I'll have just cut out a little bit of the fluff throughout this video as well then. But yeah, I must admit, I don't think I've ever really done the Falken Tyre Challenge before. Normally if I race GT4s, then I end up doing the IMSA Pilot Challenge races, you know, the big 2-hour ones. Otherwise I don't tend to do that many, as we got another LMP3 off in the gravel. So don't know whether these guys are going to obviously have to try and come back past us later on in the race, or what's going to be going on. But ultimately, yeah, it's going to give us just an extra thing to worry about. They should lap us, I would assume, once over the course of this race. They're only somewhere between 8 and 10 seconds a lap faster around this venue. But again, I was kind of comparing that to higher I-rated LMP3 cars as well. These guys, I think they only took pole. They were only quicker than me by about 5 or 6 seconds in the end, so not as big a gap as I was expecting. Speaking of gaps, though, we've built up a little bit of one on this opening lap, though. Almost got that 1 second ahead of Ryosuke, so we'll wait and see as to what their pace is like as this race goes on. Of course, fuel usage, I don't believe obviously there's a pit stop or anything like that. You can see already people not happy with each other early on in this race, but yeah, we've had a pretty good run of form throughout week 13 and obviously into the new season. Obviously, if you missed out on that Super Formula video yesterday, that was really good fun from Road America. So, long may it continue. But I'm sure, obviously, at some point I will get well and truly iRacing as well in the not-too-distant future. But it looks like, yeah, Ryosuke, his pace seems to be fairly competitive. So I was quite happy that, obviously, we took pole. I kind of forgot just how low my sports car iRacing is inside the sim. You know, I'd like to think I could probably get both that and the open wheeler up towards the 2K mark over the course of this season, but of course, you know, we'll wait and see as to how things pan out. Again, you know, I prefer to race a variety of cars rather than kind of, you know, fixating on one series and that kind of thing, because obviously this season I want to dive in as well with the McLaren 720S. You know, I want to try and take on some of the new cars around some of the new venues there as well. Shut the car down in towards the final few corners. Just see they're trying to lean on it as best as possible. But yeah, early impressions though in race trim with a setup with the BMW. It's actually quite nice, but in a really odd way. Now let me explain what I mean. This car, for me, for whatever reason, seems quicker when you don't overdrive it, when you're not really kind of leaning on the absolute limit with it. That's where I seem to be able to find more pace. And it's working really nicely around a track like Okayama, because generally speaking, I feel like the balance is very good. Obviously, when you don't overstep that mark, so you can see you can find a lot of pace quite quickly in it. But it's, you know, actually finding where the limit is and staying below it rather than trying to hang right on it as best as you can. It is really a car that kind of, you don't want to overdrive it. Especially around a track like this as well. We have got to be a bit careful. So we've still got a few more cars running into problems. But yeah, I've kind of found that actually, you know, you're kind of just working, allowing the car just to kind of do its own thing a little bit, you know, sometimes leaving it in a slightly higher gear, or sometimes obviously having to use the engine brake as well. There's a couple of corners where the very short, low range, or low, sorry, gears even, are a little bit awkward around this venue. So you can just see they're getting a bit of a slide through the penultimate corner. And yeah, there are quite a few places where you kind of feel trapped, either between second and third or third and fourth. But ultimately, it kind of works fairly well either way. So, you know, kind of will be trying different things as the race goes on. There is immediately setting 1 minute 37s. You can see cars behind running just that little bit faster. So, yeah, we're going to have a fight on our hands, I think. You know, I don't think it's going to be that we're just going to be able to waltz away in a race like this. You know, that pole position by half a second was good. But you never know. You know, it was pretty well hooked up lap. I think sensibly for me, there was probably, you know, only a couple more tenths in it that I could have found, you know, without getting a bit lucky and that kind of thing. As we've still got LMP3s running into many issues up in front. I mean, they're already a good way ahead of us, but yeah, it is just a case of obviously waiting, seeing how they are when they do get around to lapping us a little bit later on in this race. I would assume this one is going to be sort of 17, 18 laps. You know, somewhere just below the 20 lap mark. But yeah, already though, just under a little bit more pressure. So, you know, I think we might have nailed our qualifying lap and maybe others didn't. So we might be defending quite a lot as this race goes on. And again, you know, obviously heavy fuel, everything like that. You know, it feels fairly stable still. You know, it doesn't feel like you've got to drive it differently when it's on heavier fuel, but you know, it is just about keeping the car within its own limits as well as through the final corner. This is hopefully going to be an improvement that might reclaim fastest lap. Let's just wait and see. And there we go, 36.6. Look at that, yeah. 2 thousandths of a second quicker than the guy behind. So, yeah, it is very, very fine margins here early on, but like I said, I don't want to kind of overstep the mark or anything like that too early. And you know, if you end up with a couple of 4Xs as well, this is a long enough race where, you know, you've got to start worrying about those incidents, as well as obviously I want to try and get my A license. I'm at B4.99, so I can do every series in the sim, but I would like the A license as well. And obviously I don't really want to lose our B license all too quickly. So we can only hope, yeah, that we get some clean VRS races, get my MRP up, or MPR even, isn't it? Sorry. And hopefully we can go from there. Never quite know how much curb you can get away with, but just try and push that envelope a little bit more each and every lap. And hopefully, yeah, we can continue just to extract a little bit more pace out of the car. You know, it does take a little while to kind of warm this thing up. Tyres, you know, can be a little bit of a struggle. It feels quite heavy, but I quite like that in a race car. I know I spoke about it in the McLaren first drive video we did in that 720S. I quite like, you know, these big front-end GT4 cars, or the GT3 cars for that matter. You know, it's why I like the Merc or the BMW, obviously this or the GT3 BMW, just because I quite like kind of really having to drag the car around a bit. And ultimately, yeah, that's what, you know, those front-engine cars are a bit more like, unlike, you know, the Porsche in either class, I guess, or, you know, the Audi, that kind of thing, or even the McLaren to a slightly lesser degree as well in GT3. Like I said, I will be taking, I think, yeah, I'll be using that car this season, though. Yeah, I will be taking that car out, because I believe week 1, we're at Silverstone inside that series, so hopefully we can try and have a good start to the campaign when I do get round to it. Obviously racing in that series as well there, as you can just see, lap times are very, very close. We kind of, I think we've got like 4 of us and that have broken free from the rest of the GT4 group. You know, like I said, I'm not interested in building up a big gap or anything like that too early on, you know, pushing it, risking, you know, too much. But not under much pressure, especially if Fabio now is going to be able to try and apply a bit of pressure to Ryosuke. We'll wait and see. I'm probably butchering their name. I'm so sorry. You know, my pronunciation is never particularly great. So please just yell at me in the comments if I'm pronouncing names wrong as well there. But we'll just try to tip it through. You see, you do get a little bit on the X there. You can leave it in third gear through those hairpins. So a little bit of exploration. That's going to be my first 1X of the day. Hopefully we won't get too many of those as the race goes on. You can already see, yeah, we've lost like half of the LMP3 cars pretty early in this race. So
You've got 20 minutes left.
Not really what they would want to do, as we're already at 1/3 distance though. 30-minute races I kind of always feel are in a bit of a weird middle ground for me. You know, I enjoy kind of like the 15-20 minute ones. And then kind of, you know, the VRS, the IMSAs, they just feel like, you know, a normal 50% F1 race in terms of time. The 30 minutes one are always a little bit peculiar. I don't really know whether to attack them more like a sprint, you know, where you have got to make the moves pretty quickly, or whether it is, you know, being a bit more controlled, being a bit more composed and calm, and kind of waiting for things to come to you as well as the races go on. So hopefully, yeah, from the front, we can just kind of try and lead this one and dictate the pace as best as we can, but there is no guarantee of that. You know, one mistake can easily upset your rhythm. Or yeah, Fabio, like I said, he's looking very, very racy a little bit further back. I mean, we've only lost 21 seconds to the back LMP3 car. I've got no idea where the leaders are though in that class. And of course, yeah, with this group of cars quite bunched up, you know, we're not going to see them until they kind of get to us, so we won't have too much time to kind of like plan and prep what we're going to do. What I will say, though, very impressed by how many people signed up.
What about track limits?
Damn it. I think there was something ridiculous, genuinely, like 140 sign-ups for this race. So numbers, I mean, it's the middle of the day on a Tuesday. You know, I get obviously this week one and things like that, but I was very impressed to see just how much interest there was. Now, I don't really like driving the LMP3 car, and clearly, obviously, you know, GT4 has got a lot more interest in it. But yeah, I think that's really, really good to see, and obviously, hopefully, it will continue over the course of the season. Now, there's obviously been a lot of talk and speculation about whether we're going to finally get a GT3 and GT4 series, and obviously, you know, the real-life equivalent of this championship, I think as of next year, is going to be featuring GT3 as well. So it wouldn't surprise me, actually, if we end up with this, you know, with GT3 cars in this series as well. And I think 30-minute GT3 races could be absolutely fascinating in the multi-class, because, you know, they will pretty much match the LMP3s, I think, in terms of pace. There's not going to be much time difference between them, and that might obviously cause chaos. Bit like, if you remember, back in the day we used to see with the Daytona prototypes and the GTE cars. I mean, we're talking probably worryingly nearly 10 years ago now. But obviously, yeah, that was quite an odd little time in iRacing lore as well. You'll never forget your first tangle with a sub 1k iRacing Daytona prototype car whilst you're trying to battle for the lead in a GT. But, you know, those days are long behind us now, and luckily, yeah, the LMP3 car, at least this time round, there doesn't seem to be too much chaos. How on earth has someone been disqualified? We're 13 minutes in. They've averaged, like, 2 instant points a lap. I'm going to guess they've spanned a couple of times, got involved in contact, or what on earth's happened. I mean, we'll have a look at the incident report come the end of this one, but how do you get DQ'd inside 15 minutes in a race like this? That is absolutely incredible. There we go. He's already gone. But yeah, I mean, it looks like top 3 though in this one have just started to break away as well now. So Daniel in P4 just not quite able to keep up with us at the moment. I mean, you can see the gap's pretty much even on that last lap between your top 3. Barely a couple of hundredths of a second covering the gap between all of us. So, I think, yeah, we've ended up in a good little fight here. You know, obviously being at the front, you'd be intrigued to see what it would have been like one split higher.
Incident in last corner.
And I think, you know, we might have been able to fight, you know, mid-pack and things like that. Obviously, depending on what the SOF was looking like in that next lobby there. There's still just a few little mistakes creeping in here and there. Try and leave it in third gear through this hairpin. Oh, you just see there, it can sometimes really rotate the back end of the car around. And that can really benefit you. But other times, yeah, you're just met with understeer. And it is so frustrating. Because obviously you don't quite know exactly what you're going to get. Which I guess adds to the fun. But certainly can make things a little bit peculiar sometimes. Let's try and get some fast laps on the board.
You're matching race pace, this is good.
So there we go, 36.5. I want to try and take that fastest lap. As you can see, there we go. That's been immediately lowered to a 36.4. But like I said, you know, I'm trying not to push too aggressively. You know, I don't want to risk damaging the car or anything, as we're already on lap 10, so I think we might see 19 laps out of this. Kind of depends, obviously, on where the LMP3s end up as well. You know, will they get the lap on us? They should do. I would have thought the lead LMP3 car has got to be, you know, getting back round towards the start-finish line as well. As, yeah, there we go. He has already crossed the finish line. So he's actually not going to be that far behind us here. We might be close to getting lapped twice. So where is the car gone off? Plenty of incidents over the course of this race. Now, clearly, I use Craig's setup shop. They've obviously tuned this thing so you don't need 6th gear around here. I think this car, though, might have 7 gears, which is absolutely mental as well. So, yeah, that one. I mean, are you ever going to use 7th gear in this car? I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced you'll ever probably see that being commonly used. And, you know, unless you're doing something ridiculous with like a race at Daytona. Not even the road course, just like the full-blown oval at Daytona, or maybe you're trying to push and things like that to try and make an impact as well there. Yeah, these two behind though. Fabio set a good last lap time, but I think he seems to be the most inconsistent out of the three of us.
136.6.
But again, you know, we're not really able to shake these two. Kind of more just keep them at arm's length, so let's really try and see what we can do through these opening couple of corners there. You can get a little bit of slide out of the car. You know, it will work quite nicely with you. So there we go. Yeah, they are not far behind us now in those LMP3s. I think it's going to be next lap that they get right with us here, as we are already a minute 17 behind. Just see there, getting a couple of extra tenths on the Delta. I always like a car that has got a live Delta as well. But it is Andrew as well. But, I keep short shifting up to 6th for some reason. And it does affect you on the other end. You can just see there, again, we go and lose that little bit of time that obviously we found a bit earlier on, and a bit more, so this is turning into a real pain for us. Maybe just on almost too much of a Sunday drive right now at the front of the field, but yeah, it is nice to obviously race something a little bit different, that you're not really having to try and hustle around all the time. You can see why GT4 cars are popular for customer racing and things like that. As third gear through there is definitely the way to go. Looking at that Delta time. But yeah, I want to try and get pole position, fastest lap, and race victory here. But I think, yeah, these next couple of laps might end up being interrupted. As there we go, Moritz has just shown up on the relative. So he's going to get us before the end of this lap. I mean, you can lean on the engine brake, and you do find a fair old chunk of time from it. But it is, you know, unreliable. Or at least, you know, without the muscle memory in play early on, you know, it might take a few more weeks if we can really lean on that all too much in this car. Let's just hope, yeah, Moritz gets stuck a little bit awkwardly behind the other two. Because I, you know, ideally just want to see him go past me on a big straight or something like that. I think annoyingly, he might get the pair of them though down this back straight. See that gap coming down. But yeah, how are things going to pan out then? Oh, I'll really try and lean on it. There he goes, trying to have a look around the outside. I wonder if, yeah, Rasuki, no, he won't let him by, so clearly just, you know, is focused on making sure he loses as little time as possible. We'll keep hitting his lines and everything like that.
Blue flag.
And I think that will work nicely for us there. Yeah, Raisuke losing just a little bit of time. And hopefully we won't. Let's try and lean on the traction control on the exit. Not that you really need it too much in this car.
You've got half your fuel left.
Let's just wait and see out the final corner. There we go.
Right.
Leader in LMP3 is going to move through them, but he's got he's got an 8-second lead over everybody else. He seems to be hitting quicker lap times than he was able to in qualifying, which is quite impressive. So I think, yeah, those LMP3 drivers definitely did struggle a fair amount with that. But yeah, that gap has really worked out nicely for us. But there are going to be plenty more of them that are going to try and fight their way through as well. So we've got a 2-second buffer now over P2. You can see Frank now as well
10 minutes
has
remaining.
appeared
10
on the
minutes.
relative. I mean, there has been a lot to talk about in this race. Only 10 minutes left to go now.
The hairpin.
Oh no, what's happened? Can't see anything for any of our main rivals, so I'm guessing just, you know, someone either running wide or something like that. You know, nothing to write home about. Oh, that line there, though, that's not good. Come on, get back on the road.
There's a faster car approaching. We've just had a warning for cutting the track.
Ooh, that was close. I mean, we've absolutely thrown away the advantage we were given, but that could have been a whole lot worse. We could have ended up having to try and fight our way back through here. Luckily, we've still got a 1-second buffer, so I think those two behind are definitely starting to struggle just a little bit more. And now, yeah, with that LMP3 trying to carve his way through, is he going to be aggressive? Is he going to be a bit more patient? I don't know. I don't think he's really in a battle. I think those LMP3s have very much just kind of strung out as this race has gone on, so I don't think that's going to be too much of a concern. But yeah, I think annoyingly for me though, this time around, we might lose a little bit of time in the getting lap process here, as I don't think he'll get me down towards turn 1. Hopefully he'll just try and sort of get around me on the exit of the corner. So we try and find our way
Car right.
towards the apex.
Clear right.
I mean, these GT4 cars, they always look hilariously big up against the LMP3s as well. Those things are absolutely tiny. And I mean, especially, you know, the BMW and things like that. This thing looks like a tower block in comparison. So, yeah, I'm sure that might end up being my screenshot for the thumbnail. So still instant seemingly every single lap down of that hairpin. So not too sure what's going on there. We've got a nice run, though, out onto the back straight this time round. So hopefully we're going to be able to try and get a good lap on the board.
There's an incident in Piper.
I don't know why I suddenly can't hit my marks anymore through there. Very, very peculiar. Yeah, I mean, we might end up lapping some of the GT4 cars by the end of this race. Obviously, apart from, you know, the ones that have run into serious problems. As there we go, talk of the devil. Julian clearly not having a fun time of it. And he might well be out of this race as well there. But, yeah, we'll wait and see kind of whether we catch any of them on raw pace. I'm pretty certain this is bottom split, annoyingly. So, you know, it's maybe not the race to write home about, but, you know, a win, if we can bring it home, is still a win at the end of the day. But, you know, we're still under pressure from those guys behind. Less than, well, about 7 minutes to go then of this race.
Behind is increasing. It's now 1.7. We're matching race pace.
I still want to try and claim that fastest lap. I still want to try and push for that. It is still a 36.4.
Consistency. Keep it up.
But it is just getting the lines nailed around here. You know, it's only really when you're trying to kind of push the car a bit more that you kind of find its limitations a bit, and that's when things can start to struggle. But yeah, those two behind still fighting, and that is presenting us once again with a window to try and break free. Once again, we'll get a nice run out onto the back straight there. You kind of rise up to the top of the crest, and then you basically got to just run it completely down the left-hand side of the circuit. One of those wonderful straights where it chucks you out, and obviously the braking zone for the next corner are on the same side of the road as well. It's those little things. I do enjoy Okayama. I do think it's a really, really good fun track. So just through Revolver there. A little bit of oversteer. Gotta just try and make sure you get it stopped into the apex there, but roll onto the throttle again quite nicely on the exit. So try and go for a bit of a late break. And then short shift up to third on the exit of the corner. Oh, come on, go, go, go. Get that throttle down nice and tidy. That's exactly what we need. Come on, 2 more corners. And maybe we can try and poach that fastest lap. Kick up a little bit of sand through the penultimate one. And come on, foot to the floor. This is going to be quite close, but I think we might just snooker it away then. For now. I believe that's going to be a 36.3.
Your last lap time was at 136.4.
So there we go. Yeah, 1 minute 36.35. And again, almost immediately, we're just finding a little bit more through the first couple of corners here. So this will be really, really good. You know, if we can just put a little bit of breathing room between ourselves and the guys behind. Just remind them, you know, we took pole position. We might not have broken away at the same rate that potentially people expected us to, based on those qualifying times.
Come on, bring it home.
Yeah, I think we've got 3 more laps after this one. Looking at it, yeah, leader might just get an extra one. Depends whether he's really interested in trying to do that extra lap or not as well, I guess. But I guess, yeah, if you're in the LMP3, you probably had a fair amount of lap traffic to deal with as well. You know, especially with quite a big GT4 grid in this race. Come on, get that nose in. Really try and carry the speed off of the corner. I hate to think what I've done to the set of tyres on this car, but you know, that's all part of racing as well. They've only got a last half an hour, so we may as well try and really get through them. So, come on. Just weaving our way through the second half of the lap. They're a little bit wide on the exit. But we might be able to, again, just find a little bit of time. No, a bit too much understeer that time. And again, you know, we want to try and avoid the 1Xs. We have only got 3X so far this race. But I mentioned that in the Super Formula race a couple of days ago, and then I absolutely went and ruined myself in the final few laps there.
36.8.
And ended up with like 5 instant points, so I really don't want to repeat of that towards the end of this one as well there. I don't believe third gear is the way to go, but it can provide you with, you know, a bit more front end rotation as well through those first couple of turns. You can just see, yeah, for the first time though in this race, that gap now really starting just to become a little bit more of a safe buffer for us. You know, it's going to require not just, you know, a little lockup or something like that. It is probably going to require us now, you know, kind of end up off the road or something like that. Daniel in P4 though, again, setting some really good lap times as well. So not too sure what's happened to him, you know, whether he's made a mistake or something that kind of ended up with him being so far back. But yeah, he's been able to still be quite quietly consistent here, and just makes me wonder whether that fastest lap will be ours for the taking or not. But yeah, looks like leader going quick enough that we might just get the extra lap in before the end. We'll have to wait and see kind of what he decides to do. Not that it's too much of a concern to myself there, as well. Let's try and go for it. Let's try and go for another good lap time. Just wind it up through those final couple of corners. Try and get on the throttle nice and tidy out of the final turn. And let's go for it. I mean, that leader's already pulled out a good 40 seconds over me, so almost half a lap in not a long space of time at all. Braking just under the gantry for turn 1. Try get the inside wheels just slightly over that curb to carry you through. Braking just before the AstroTurf on the outside through turn 2. And then try to open up the car on the exit there. A little bit of snap oversteer that time. Won't do us any favours at all, but luckily we're able to get the car slowed down. Braking just before the little bit of sand there in towards the hairpin. And I like to try and hug the apex off the exit of the corner there. Just give yourself the run out to the back straight without running too wide and then potentially having to compromise yourself as you make your way out there. Down in towards the next hairpin. Braking just at the 100-metre ball. They've really got to try and get it tucked up in second gear. And then, yeah, it should hopefully avoid too much trouble as well. Take plenty of curb through that next corner on the drop.
Temperature's decreasing. It's now 42 Celsius.
And then through the second part as well, just allow the car to run out wide, but careful not to end up with too much understeer. Short shift number to third on the exit. Leave it in third gear. through this hairpin. Oh, come on, with just you'd see there, throwing away a little bit of time through the second half of the lap. So we have got blue flags. Ooh, a little bit of a moment there, but we'll get away with it. And you can just see again, just dropping a couple of tenths of a second by the end of the lap there, so not ideal. And I don't, yeah, we haven't got the white flag, so leader not interested in trying to time it or anything like that. I mean, he's got a 16-second lead over P2, so he's only risking it for himself, I guess. But, you know, that's the way they want to play it. That's the way they want to play it. Really trying to ride the throttle nicely at turn 2 that time around. There's definitely still a couple more tenths in it. I reckon, yeah, if I nailed it, I could probably get close to a 35 again, just like we saw in qualifying. So I'll mash the throttle down there. Really try and get off that corner. Springboard ourselves out onto the back straight, as I can see again. More cars running into issues. And yeah, you can see as well, the guys behind just getting a little bit more spread out as well. Into that hairpin, full on steering lock. You know, you've got to be smooth as you put the lock on, and smooth as you bring the lock off as well. So that's really, really good. And again, I mean, we're able to hang on pretty nicely with that lap time on the Delta. It is just through these final few corners that we really seem to struggle with it. But maybe if we just get the line right, we can try and hang on there. As that time around, we've hung on to the Delta pretty nicely. 2 more corners to go. Oh, again, just not quite able to find that apex, and that might cost us. How long has that faster traffic been approaching for? Come on, at the final corner. Let's just try and go a tiny bit quicker up towards the line. Are we going to do it? I don't think we will.
Right side's clear. One more lap.
As we'll do. We were 1,000th of a second off my best. 1,000th of a second. If that isn't consistency, I don't know what is. No idea what this guy's doing on this final lap, but we'll let him get round us. Not going to worry about it too much. And there we go. Yeah, we've only been lapped by the top 3 in LMP3 in this race, so yeah, it goes to show just how spread out they ended up being over the course of this one there. I mean, leader has absolutely dominated that. I can't say I'm too surprised. Very, very spread out SOF in LMP3, as you would expect, obviously, in a race like that. That guy's got no front end. I don't know how he's managed it. Well, I'm sure, again, we'll get a look in the incident report. But he did cost me on my fastest lap attempt again, so that's a little bit annoying.
2 minutes to go. 2 minutes.
Come on, buddy. Gotta get on with it. I mean, I'm impressed that thing's still pretty racy in a straight line. He's finished. He's gonna finish 4th with basically no front end on that car, which is rather impressive.
Keep your wits about you, mate.
Oh, another GT4 car gone. Not too sure what's happened there, but through the final couple of corners, though, it looks like we're going to open up that gap right towards the end of that one. We let the others kind of hang close early on, but second half of this race, we've kind of just been able to get into our own kind of rhythm here. At the final corner, we're going to get our first win in I don't know how long on iRacing. P1 to kickstart the year in the Falken Tyre Challenge. And, well, I guess with this car as well,
Absolutely perfect. Great win.
we have got an undefeated record in the BMW. Let's go take a look at our final race results, but first of all, we'll take a look at the incident report. Well, let's take a look then at our incident report from this race. Immediately, we just got a little bit of internet buffering, as you would come to expect. Porsche, though, running off down at turn 1. A little bit of a mistake there, but luckily, I don't think should do too much damage. LMP3, that's quite a big one, on the other hand. I'm guessing that's why the guy was moaning about someone brake checking in front of him. I'll be honest, I think he's only got himself to blame there. The guy in front was a fair... I mean, look, yeah, he was a fair old way in front into that corner. And, well, he did try to move around him. But ultimately, yeah, I think has ruined both of those two's afternoons. Let's have a look what else has gone on. Down through Revolver. Oh, a little bit of a squeeze there. I think there might have been a tiny bit of netcode in that one. And luckily, yeah, able to keep going again with not too much damage. I mean, we saw a lot of incidents through Revolver in this race. And I'm expecting that's what a lot of them are going to be like. As we'll wave to myself as we go past him there as well. And now he's got to watch all of your GT4 drivers go by before he can finally get back on the road. Very, very frustrating indeed. Aston Martin tucked. I'm not really sure what's going on there. Tried to tuck in behind the LMP3, I think. But the LMP3, I think that was the one that was very, very reluctant to actually try and lap people. So, not too sure what we make of that one. Tell me down in the comments below. Again, a little bit more internet. Down in towards turn 1. This was the same guy, and he's just... Oh, I think the guy behind him was lucky to disconnect at that moment, or have a little bit of netcode. Yeah, I think you wanted to break a little bit more into that corner that time, and just a little slap of the barrier might not have done too much damage as well. In towards the hairpin, just got a bit too much on the brake there. And again, you lose one spot, but not too much time, but definitely your dignity. And another one. That time around, you're going to do a bit more damage to your car. So the 33 clearly in the wars as this race goes on. The orange kind of salmony coloured car then. Again, just tiny bit of netcode on that one. Here we go, a GT4 incident. Down the inside goes the Merc, and oh, I did get netcoded. That's really, really unlucky there between both him and the Aston Martin. Probably better off holding your brake there, though, sir. You would have avoided getting damage on the rear of the car. And, again, a bit of a questionable rejoin, I think we'll call it, as he'll get to the outside of the BMW off the corner as well. The BMW really trying to give him a bit of a squeeze. Who's actually going to come out on top in this one? It is going to be that Bimmer as well then. LMP3 against a GT4. No, it's not. He's just going to go for a nice slow lockup as well, as that's probably quite a scary sight on the exit of the corner. BMW, Aston Martin and Mercedes, so a nice bit of variety here. Ooh, they're kind of going to meet in the middle on that one. A little bit peculiar. But, yeah, I think they'll all get away with that one for now. LMP3 again, running off into the gravel. Seen a fair share of those as this race went on, and I'm going to guess this one is once more going to be netcode. No, it's not. I love the Hertz Jota livery on that car, but not such a fan of his driving there. Final corner, just... Oh, that's such a slow, lazy spin. Must have been real painful to be in the car for that one there, but going to lose another spot as well. So, yeah, quite a lot of incidents going down in this race. Porsche there, well, he's lost his rear wing, tries to get going, and actually that time around, rejoining did him a favour, and the LMP3 car behind. Another multi-class moment, as I don't really know what to make of that. Maybe the BMW should have backed out. That's how that guy lost his bumper. It's going to be a pretty terrible rejoin as well. But, yeah, I think just low lobby kind of carnage there. Again, it's going to be the same guy down in towards the next lap or so. And I think this one might just, again, be a little bit of netcode. Yeah, I think it is, so not too much to write home about on that one then. What's this guy going to do? Penultimate corner. Seems like an odd place to bin it. And he's not. Again, I think it's just going to be... Yeah, there's quite a few netcode ones you seem to find in Sim. But that's going to do us then for the incident report. Yeah, let's go take a look at our final race results. There we are then, taking a look at our final race results. Of course, no change to our SR. We can't go any higher than 4.99. But we do gain 95 iRating as well, which I guess we can be pretty happy with. Turns out we weren't even in the lowest SOF there. So, yeah, it would have been nice to see how we could have got on in an 1800 strength of field. We're happy with the result we had. Looks like Moritz as well, from 7th on the grid in LMP3, came through for a pretty dominant victory there. Only 5 cars ending up on the lead lap. We came 6th overall, but obviously first in class. That you can see there, yeah, we just, I think, still pipped fastest lap as well from our class of drivers. So happy with that one. In terms of lowest incident points, both Ryosuke and Fabio behind me ended up with 0x, so GG to them. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon with more iRacing content.